Computer. I think we're doing it.
I think we're doing it. We can
As,
always edit if we aren't.
yeah, as we're learning to use Zoom, our kids are learning to use Zoom, and they'll pass us in a heartbeat and be teaching us.
Absolutely. Gosh.
Yeah. So how are you? I'm today here with Monique Cook, and she is the owner, CEO, person of Coach for Recovery, right?
Yep. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And so tell me a little bit about your business, Coach for Recovery.
So Coach for Recovery is a personalized therapeutic way of dealing with anxiety, depression, and addiction. Okay. But it is not your mainstream one size, fit in a box system.
Okay.
So that's
what do you mean by that? Not your one size fit in a box system?
Well, because most treatment centers we do it one way. If you're an addict, we're going to treat you this way. If you have anxiety, we're going to give you medication. If you are ... we're going to do this, and that. And so I created Coach for Recovery so that I could meet the client, the patient, the person, the family, exactly where they are. Okay. And it doesn't disrupt their life. Their life is already disrupted by whatever ails them. And so I come to their house, which is an interesting twist in a pandemic.
Seriously. So how are you dealing with that? But before we even get into the pandemic side of things, I'm interested to hear more about what you're saying, because it sounds like, and in my experience, it does feel, whenever I've gone to like therapy, it does feel like it is very much like, this is what I've learned and now I'm going to apply it to you and what you're telling me. Right. So I love the philosophy that, I love hearing about. I would love to hear more about the philosophy that you're telling me, that you're actually like listening to each individual client's needs and then creating a program that's specific to them. Can you elaborate on that at all?
I can, for sure. So perfect example is I recently started with a family. It's been about 60 days. Mm-hmm. They've been through a lot. They've been through many different forms of therapy, many different forms of treatment center, beautiful people. And since they are skilled in finding the next person, they asked very specific questions. Can you email us your questionnaire? Can you email us this? And I told them, I said, no, I don't have a questionnaire. Mm-hmm. Well, how are you going to get to know us? How are you going to know our history? What can we do? And they weren't combative in any way, but They just didn't understand that there wasn't a form that they could fill out for them to tell me everything about their family that had been suffering for 20 years.
Wow.
And so when I set up the initial meeting with them, which was through Zoom, mm-hmm. They were extremely cautious. So why don't you want to ask us about the addictive history? Why don't you want us to tell you the list of medications or treatment centers? And I told them, I can see your person exactly where they are today. And for some reason, I have a skill set mm-hmm. that I didn't gain through education, I have to say. I'm educated and I continue education, but I can see your person and what they've been through. And I have a fine way of figuring out where we're going to go from here, rather than dragging them through their history to tell me what I should do next.
Right.
So
you have like a humanity superpower to be able to counsel super individualized people with their super specific and individualized needs. It sounds like that's cool.
It's 100% true. And I attribute that to my own life of addiction and mayhem.
Yeah.
I could read a room and read a person from 100 paces. So it works really well.
Right.
It works really well. It gives people a sense of understanding and compassion, not only for what I've been through, but how I can help them.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine it also builds like an innate sense of trust immediately, because you aren't just putting them in that box that they're ready to be placed into. And if they've been dealing with this for 20 plus years, and each time it's the same thing and they're ready for the system that they've been accustomed to, that system doesn't sound like it's working for them. So if you come in and kind of shift things, it sounds like it would give them an experience that they have not yet realized would be beneficial for them and their families.
And just recently, I caught myself using this line more than once, and no disrespect to used car salesmen. That is not what this is about. I catch myself in this little tangent of, this is what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. This is what I can offer you. This is what you have done. And I know you have tried your hardest, but we're not going to do that. And this is where I can take you. And I know I sound like a salesman.
But I don't think you do. I think like saying that gives them, provides certainty in a space that's so uncertain. I would rather work with somebody, no matter what, if I'm buying a used car or going to see somebody for addiction or therapy, who knows their stuff and can leave me with certainty if they're questioning themselves and what their skill set is and how they can help me personally. Like, I'm not going to feel confident in choosing that service. So keep doing it. I don't think you need to change that. Sell these cars.
That's funny. So no, it's going very well. And I actually had somebody tell me the other day, because they were in a really hard place and we'd been working so hard. And I told them, I said, I mean, no disrespect. I know you've probably had a dozen amazing counselors. And so and they stopped me and they said, no, I have had a dozen or more counselors.
Yeah.
But you're the first counselor that I feel has listened to me. And that's all I want, is for people to be heard.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a lost skill set, especially with the amount of technology and instant gratification. The listening component to life is the biggest. I just finished reading The Go Giver Sell More, ironically, and the last part of the book talks about the best way to be an effective communicator is to listen. That's it.
Right. It's so true. And yeah, I could digress into, and I do that with my granddaughter. You know, I watch her play, but I watch her play.
Yeah.
I listen to what she's telling me we're going to do next.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't see her.
Yes.
That's cool. So how has the pandemic shifted your business and your business model and how you can continue to serve our community and your clients?
It surprisingly, and I mean that genuinely, it really surprised me. So the people that I work with, as I said, are usually anxiety driven, addiction, depression. And so those three things alone have many subcategories. Just going to meet me at a park or on a trail or along West or East Cliff, because I don't have an office. I gave up my office in 2006. Mm-hmm. I'm mobile. I really believe that people communicate while moving. I believe that people communicate best in their living room if they aren't able to move. So after I first got my wits about me of how I was going to take care of my family, I really thought that the phone would stop ringing. Mm-hmm. I thought everybody's going to hunker down. Everybody's just going to figure everything out. We just need to wait and see what happens next. And my phone just started ringing and ringing and ringing. And at first I had to catch myself, because my normal instinct would be, I have to go to this person's house.
Right.
I have to.
Right.
That's what I do. It's my superpower.
Yeah.
And I was nervous at first to say, you know, I don't meet in person. We're going to have to do this by phone. We're going to have to figure out Zoom, so forth and so on. And I learned quite quickly that it has taken away that one bit of anxiety or pressure that it puts on people to actually show up for an appointment. Uh-huh. If I just dial in, if all they have to do is answer the phone.
Yeah.
And at first I was doing a lot of Zoom calls and a lot of FaceTime, but for the most part, now I have people telling me, I'm going to call you because I'm going for the walk we would have gone on.
Oh, that's amazing.
So the things that I have taught them are now transferring to them. But if I'm in their earpiece, they have me with them, and they don't even realize that they're in the world technically alone.
Wow.
But
they
not
feel so supported.
Oh my gosh. And so people are becoming less afraid. Uh-huh. People are becoming more confident. The addiction rate that I've been working with my people has gone down in an extraordinary number, to be honest. I've had very little relapses, which isn't even normal this time of year.
Yeah. And especially with something that's so unknown, like a pandemic that none of us have lived through, you would think that would be like, let me find something to self-soothe.
Exactly. I do have people that are nervous about it, but I caught myself about a month ago realizing that we as addicts and we who live with anxiety and depression, we have pretty much a constant pandemic in our mind. So these people are just kind of shifting gears.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm not going to go find drugs. There's this world around me that is crumbling, and I always thought it was crumbling anyways.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, the conversations that I'm having with people with addiction versus pandemic. I'm like, okay.
Wow, that is an interesting parallel.
Right.
Very interesting parallel.
Right.
Yeah, there was definitely a moment at the beginning of the pandemic where we polished off a couple bottles of liquor, and I was like, whoa, we better slow down here. Otherwise, this pandemic is going to turn us into like the craziest alcoholic hobbits imaginable. So I like put it all away, and I'm like, okay, just because all of this is changing doesn't mean that we as humans have to change. I mean, for the worst. Obviously, change for the better is a positive thing.
Right. And that's what I told them. I said, since we're having the conversation about the parallels of outside and versus what we've survived already, we have to remember that it's an inside job.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter what's happening outside of our homes or outside of our bodies or outside of our minds. Our job is self-care in a way that fits our needs. Mm-hmm. So that's been able to translate in a very helpful way.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. I love my work.
The what? You love your work?
My work.
Yeah.
You're
passionate about it.
Yeah.
I love that you love it and that you found a unique way to fit into a marketplace that actually serves the people that you're intending to serve. I think with schooling and stuff in general, you're like taught this one specific way, and it's really hard to deviate because you question your confidence as you're serving your clients. But like when you get in yourself, like what you're saying, and find that power within and that experience within, you're just able to really give back to your clients, and it shows. So that's really awesome.
And I do feel like I'm serving the community. For every person that I work through their eating disorder or their addiction or their depression or their anxiety, I'm sending them out. Go, go find a job, go back to school, mend your relationship, be a better parent, be a better wife, be a better person. So.
Well, you are serving the community, and you're not even my therapist, but every time I have time with you as a friend, I always leave feeling better. Like, yeah, she put that into perspective really quick for me, whatever it may be. So I guess that means we have to get a walking date on the calendar.
So soon.
Yeah.
8 feet apart, masks, whatever it takes.
Whatever. Yeah. In the fresh air, I'll do whatever. I'll do it.
Right.
So what experiences have helped to shape the uniqueness of your business model? Personal or life or family or experiences with clients that you were like, this is the way that things need to be. I mean, I guess you said that you have, but you admitted that you have this superpower. Yes. Which you found and you're utilizing. I think a lot of people don't admit that they have. Everybody has superpowers, but like, right. What are they? And to be able to like focus on that. But what have you found within your life, however, that's helped shape your business model to be able to create this?
I have the confidence that it's possible.
Yeah.
To be honest, it seems like such a simple saying, but I can see people in their most broken of ways. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm working with a few families right now that I didn't see myself connecting in what they're going through, but it's taken me back to things that I have suffered through, back through ways that I have accomplished it. And so I think the best part about the thing that I do for and with people is because I worked in treatment centers very early on, I knew that I wanted to be a counselor. I mean, as soon as I got sober, I started volunteering in treatment centers. I started volunteering at Dominican Hospital at the Adrian Center, which is no longer there. And I was very active in helping people find their path to the elixir that I had drank. Mm-hmm. And so when I realized that people would listen to me and that I felt comfortable talking to them at whatever level they were coming to me, that made me feel good. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I was watching treatment centers take people in, dust them off, and send them back out into the world with really no skills.
Yeah.
So treatment centers are my friend. If you are in a way that you cannot stop on your own, because I will help people stop on their own. If they can't afford, or if it's too disruptive in their workplace or their family life to go off to the $1 million treatment center or the free one, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Then I can curtail a treatment plan for them at home, mm-hmm. which it's really my favorite.
With enough support that they.
Absolutely. You know, and that's where I get a nutritionist in, and that's where I get a personal trainer in, if possible. I get people's whole body moving. But what made me feel ultimately skilled at this is I kept watching people go back out into the world skillless. Mm-hmm. They would go to the treatment center and yes, they would stop using. They would go to the treatment center and they would feel less afraid. But once graduation came, they would go back to the same home, mm-hmm. and the same routine, mm-hmm. and the same wife or the same children or the same job. And I work with the whole family. And I pretty much won't work with somebody that doesn't allow me to meet the wife, meet the kids, depending on the age, of course.
Right.
Have a couple family meetings so that we're all on the same page, because I can dust you off just fine.
Right.
I can get you feeling good about yourself in a couple days, but what are you going to do to change the routines that will ultimately take you right back to where you got?
Yeah.
So that is really my experience of just watching people fail.
Right.
I would work and be like, wait, why are you back at this treatment center? This is your third time. This is your fourth time.
Right.
And that's usually the people that I get, to be honest. I rarely get people that have tried recovery for the first time. Uh-huh. I get the 10, 12, 15, 24 treatment center people that wonder why they didn't find somebody like me to begin with. Mm-hmm. And are willing to do it completely differently. Mm-hmm. So it is through experience, it is through family, it is through education, it is through trial and error that I've come here.
Right. Well, it seems so logical, your approach, that if you take somebody out of the situation or their life that they've been in these habitual routines, which include abuse of some sort, or drug use or whatever, and remove them from their daily lives and then plop them right back in where they left, that they might be sober for 30 days, but then like, how do they deal with their life as they left it? It's still the same life.
Totally.
So that's,
and it's funny because I just remembered the first client who I worked with as coach for recovery, who taught me this. I worked with this individual and they were absolutely healthy in every form of their life. Owned a big business, ate well, ran healthy, meditated, wanted to eat right. So therefore they would do their organic shopping every night at 5 o'clock. But along with eating all of their organic food, they would pick up 3 or 4 bottles of wine. And then they would be gone by morning.
Were they organic wine?
Oh, I'm sure they were. They were such a great person.
Sulfate free.
So I remember I met them and we talked about it, and it was at their house. And I said, I'm going to meet you at the grocery store tomorrow. And they were like, I can't do that. People will know what I'm doing. No, I look like a girlfriend.
Normal.
I look like your wife's friend, like we're normal. We're not going to be, I'm not going to carry a clipboard.
I'm taking notes on you.
And so that is where we had our sessions.
That's so interesting. So then it came, I mean, that whole image that you just painted, everything about that life sounded like an addiction, right? Like the exercise, the eating healthy, and the one that's, I mean, everything is like a healthy addiction except the 3 bottles of consumption. But like that whole life is an addiction. Like it sounds like there was no space for deviating from the daily pattern of whatever ritual. So just don't go down
and so when I taught them, you don't have to walk down the wine aisle.
Yeah, skip it.
You are robotically choosing this. You know, and we only worked together for a shorter period of time, but I became friends with their family for a long time.
Yeah.
It actually is one of my favorite parts of my job because it is such an intimate connection that I make with people. I have people that are now friends with my kids. I have friends that have I have clients that have lived with me, you know, just kids that have been, I can't send you back there.
I think Brene Brown might say that that's a boundary issue, Monique.
Oh, but I wouldn't take them all, but I bet 15 or 20 of them over the last 15 or 20 years.
Fair enough.
It's worked out well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's worked out well.
That's sweet. I love that.
Damn you, Brene Brown.
I know. What else would you like to tell us or share with us that you think is important? Or
I think we've covered a lot of it.
Okay.
I do. I think if you find
do you only work, sorry I interrupted you, do you only work with people who suffer from anxiety, addiction,
no,
like that?
No, I'm actually working with somebody right now that has an executive brain in their executive world, but once they come home, they have a really hard time managing their life.
Mm-hmm.
And so where do we grocery shop? Where do we eat? How do we get through a week without piles of laundry? And so it's been it's nice. It's actually a nice break too. Just kind of stepping into somebody's world that isn't obsessive, that isn't addictive, and helping them just kind of get back on track. So I do a lot of that, just here and there, but mostly addiction.
Okay.
All forms.
Okay.
Sex, money, food, drugs, alcohol, you know.
How do you diagnose that? Like that's like
They diagnose themselves.
They do, okay.
They really do. People come to me wondering, what am I? What do I do? And within the first few sentences, they're like, oh, this is what I'm doing.
Interesting.
So.
Great. Well, send me all your contact information so that I put the right information up. But anybody who is looking for an absolutely fabulous counselor who steps outside the norm to cater to each individual's unique needs, I could highly recommend Monique Cook at Coach for Recovery.
Thank you, dear.
All right, I'm gonna stop recording.
Great.